So, guys, there's an issue with AEW, especially Collision. And what I really want to say about it is that I'm not really happy with them always moving around Collision. Like, they have, like, basketball games. I believe it's on TBS or TNT. No, TNT. And they also have, like, other programming. So the show keeps getting moved around. And I was watching, like, somebody have, like, a poll, and they got, like, 66% of people not watching Collision. But that's kind of been like hurting the show a lot. It's just like, it consistently getting moved around. And I understand that there are times when you have to move a show around. And I also understand that sometimes when you are doing television deals, that you have to, sometimes, what makes the deal more sweet is if a person says, okay, well, my show can be moved around a couple of times because there's other programming like NBA playoffs and other things like that. But the way that it's been done to Collision is way too extreme. Like, honestly, they need to be on another night. Like, I think they need to be on, like, on a Thursday night or something like that, because it's getting to the point of, why should I really, care about Collision if it's going to be at midnight, or if it's going to be, after a basketball game, that basketball game is going to be until like 3 a.m. And I do understand the other like conversation about this. The other conversation is, why not turn on Collision when I'm like, and watch it at any time I want to. It's a little tempting because the problem is that there's always like spoilers and other things on the internet. So it kind of ruins it. And then sometimes when you watch like professional wrestling, in the moment is when it feels best, really. But when you watch something that's already happened, it kind of doesn't have the same type of appeal to it. It's almost like, having hot food. Like after the food's been hot the first time, it doesn't feel special if you reheat it or whatever, really. So, but I really think to the point that it's happening with AEW is it's way too frequent with how much Collision gets moved around. And Collision is one of those shows that need a lot of work. Like a lot of people are talking about, you need a Collision exclusive roster. You need to maybe have the Ring of Honor Championship be a title that's on Ring of Honor and also Collision. Like, treat it almost like a second SmackDown type of thing. And like, push people like Kyle Fletcher, Mark Briscoe, and other people as champions, and try to make them, put in the work and saying, hey, if you got it, you're helping out the ratings, you can go over to Dynamite and be a champion. But, but it's not helping if everything's being moved around all the time. It's just, it's counterproductive because then people just don't know when the show's on. And Collision is one of those shows that I do feel like, that they really need to put a lot of time in. There's so much money that can be made from Collision, It can be like a SmackDown type of thing. And with Collision, it helps out because you have a large roster. And then the other thing, too, is that people do go to Collision shows, so there's a lot of money to be made on the road. And then also, too, it just says that with all the people you have in your roster, not all of them goes, they can go to other brands and be successful or work on what they need to work on, really. So yeah, like, but moving it around so many times and it being that frequent has just been a really big issue because, again, there's been some weeks, I think it's gotten down to like, 100,000. I think there's one week that was down to 40,000 people because it was moved around to the middle of the night. And that kind of happened with like Dynamite, and that happened with Rampage as well, really, where with Rampage, they moved it to a time block, like I think it was like 10 at night on like a Friday. And, nobody really watches that. And also with that, it got to a point where AEW didn't really care about it because they're like, okay, well, nobody really watches it. Let's have some extra matches. Let's treat it like an extra hour of Dynamite with just matches and no story or no build, really, So they got to really save Collision. And one of the ways to save it is to say, hey, you know what? We need to move it to a different night, really, if Saturday night is going to have so many events and things to move things around with. So that's all I got to say. I really just think that I really think they got to be really, really mindful of how of Collision. It's being moved around too many times to have to fix it.